Hey, Shalom Israel, Brother Reggie Jr. here. So today, guys, we're going to be starting with Deuteronomy Chapter 3, just picking up where I left off from last time. And as you guys know, Moses is getting ready to die. We know that Moses is not going to be the one to take Israel into the promised land due to not sanctifying the Lord before the children of Israel. However, his successor, Joshua, will be the one to take Israel into the promised land. And we know that Joshua is simply just a type of Christ. Now, with that being said, Moses, he's pretty much given the congregation of Israel a rundown of their history because, you know, they've been journeying for a long time, and he's pretty much just given them the history of their journeyings and their goings forth. Okay. And he's essentially going to tell the children of Israel, not necessarily in this chapter, but throughout this book, he's going to tell Israel, hey, make sure when you get in the land of Canaan, you be obedient. Because if you don't, just as he has purpose to the Canaanites, how y'all finna go in there, conquer them, kick them out and take their land. He's like, listen, the Lord is fully prepared to do that to you guys. If you disobey him and worship idol gods, shed blood in the land, the Lord was ready to completely scatter Israel all over the face of the earth. So he's going to tell Israel, hey, I set before you life or death. Hey, choose life, prosper. Don't choose death and suffer. Well, it's pretty obvious what our ancestors chose, because look at where we are right now. We're experiencing death in these lands that the Lord has scattered us in. But yep, so far the Lord is just, not the Lord, but Moses is just running down the history. So that's pretty much what we're picking up off of. So with that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Deuteronomy chapter 3 and verse 1. And it says, then we turned and went up the way of Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, came out against us, he and all his people, to battle at Edrei. And the Lord said unto me, fear him not, for I will deliver him and all his people and his land into thy hands. So never forget, brothers and sisters, the Lord is the one who determines who wins the war and who loses the war. Okay, it doesn't matter who has the biggest weapons and who has more people. That does not determine a war. What determines a war is whatever the Lord has counseled, whatever he has purposed in the heavens. So the Lord said, hey, I'm going to give Og and all his people into your hand and his land. Says, and thou shalt do unto him as thou didst unto Sihon, king of the Amorites, which dwelt at Heshbon. So the Lord our God delivered into our hands Og also. Because remember, Moses is just running this history down. He says he gave Og into our hands, the king of Bashan, and all his people, and we smote him until none was left to him remaining. And we took all his cities at that time. There was not a city which we took not from them, 80 cities. And the region of Argob, the kingdom of Og in Bashan. All these cities were fenced with high walls, gates, and bars, beside unwalled towns, a great many. You know why Moses is telling them that? Because he wants them to see how it didn't matter how fenced up, how barred up, how great and tall them walls was of our enemies. The Lord took them all down, brothers and sisters. And that's what we need to understand, especially with this fourth kingdom. It doesn't matter how many nuclear weapons they got, heat-seeking drones, robot dogs. Listen, none of that don't matter. The Lord, like, when I get ready, I am going to crush the fourth kingdom. It won't even be a fight, brothers and sisters. It won't even be a fight. Okay, so we need to understand. Don't be looking at these weapons. Oh man, they got this and they got. Listen, I don't care about none of that. I know, because I've read the Bible. When it is time, these arrogant heathen, these Babylonians, the Lord is going to take them down. and the voice of Babylon will be heard no more. We won't hear them running they fat mouth no more. No more seeing them on the TV. No more seeing them on the magazines, phones, none of that mess. It's going to be over, brothers and sisters, from that day and forward. And so that purpose of verse 5 was to build faith in Israel. Hey, look at how their cities walled up high, gates and bars. Hey, the Lord can bypass all of that stuff. Can't stop the Lord. Verse 6, it says, and we utterly destroyed them as we did unto Sihon, king of Heshbon, utterly destroying the men, women, and children, every city. But all the cattle and the spoil of the cities we took for a prey to ourselves. And we took at that time out of the hand of the two kings of the Amorites the land that was on this side of Jordan, from the river Arnon unto Mount Hermon. See, but Moses, he's on this side of the Jordan, but he's not going to go over the other side of Jordan because he's going to die before that happens. Verse 9 says, which Hermon the Sidonians call Sirion, and the Amorites call it Shinir. All the cities of the plain, and all Gilead, and all Bashan, unto all Salcah and Edrei, cities of the kingdom of Og in Bashan. For only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of the giants. So Og not only was he a king, but he was a giant. Behold, his bedstead was a bedstead of iron. Is it not in Raboth of the children of Ammon? 9 cubits was the length thereof, and 4 cubits the breadth thereof, after the cubit of a man. In this land, which we possessed at that time from Aroer, which is by the river Arnon, and half Mount Gilead, and the cities thereof, gave I unto the Reubenites and to the Gadites, and the rest to Gilead and all Bashan, being the kingdom of Og. I gave I unto the half tribe of Manasseh, all the region of Argob, with all Bashan, which was called the land of giants. 14. Jair, the son of Manasseh, took all the country of Argob unto the coast of Jeshri and Makaithi, and called, excuse me, all these words be hard to pronounce, but I'm doing my best job, and called them after his own name, Bashan hath Jair, unto this day. And I gave Gilead unto Machir, and unto the Reubenites, and unto the Gadites I gave from Gilead, even unto the river Arnon, half the valley. And it's important that we understand that the Lord is giving them this land, because the children of Israel, brothers and sisters, could not whoop these people. These Hamites was something else. And so the Lord, he had to fight for the children of Israel, because these little Hamites, they wasn't no joke, brothers and sisters. They was very, very strong. Okay, but let's keep reading. I want to get into that. And I gave Gilead unto Machir, and unto the Reubenites, and unto the Gadites I gave from Gilead, even unto the river Arnon, half the valley, and the border, even unto the river Jabbok, which is the border of the children of Ammon. Well, Ammon, they're not Hamites, but y'all know what I mean. 17. The plain also, in Jordan, and all the coast thereof, from Chinnereth even unto the sea of the plain, even the salt sea, unto Ashdoth Pigzah eastward. And I commanded you at that time, saying, the Lord your God hath given you this land to possess it. Ye shall pass over on before your brethren, the children of Israel, all that are meet for war. Okay, meaning you're not going, you got your land. That doesn't mean you ain't gonna go over and fight with your brothers. No, you got your land, that's great, but you need to go help your brothers, which of course we knew they agreed to. 19. But your wives and your little ones and your cattle, for I know that ye have much cattle, shall abide in your cities which I have given you. Unto the Lord have given the rest unto your brethren, as well as unto you, and until they also possess the land which the Lord your God have given them beyond Jordan. And then shall you return every man unto his possession, which I have given you. And I commanded Joshua at that time, saying, Thine eyes have seen all that the Lord your God have done unto these two kings, to Mount Sion and Og. So shall the Lord do unto all the kingdoms whither thou passest. Okay, so he talking about them other Canaanites, brothers. He talking about them Canaanites over the other side of Jordan. 22. The Lord said, Ye shall not fear them. Why you ain't gonna fear them? It's because you seen all the Lord has done unto them other two kings. So you know you ain't got no reason to fear. And on top of that, you are fully aware of what the Lord did to them Egyptians in Egypt. Okay, so in other words, what's the message here? You need to have faith. So he says, Ye shall not fear them, for the Lord your God, he shall fight for you. And you have to believe that, brothers and sisters. You have to believe that when you serve the Most High and you're being obedient and you have enemies that come up against you, you must believe, you must have faith. You must, beyond all of that, you must know that the Lord is fighting for you, brothers and sisters. So you don't have to lift your hand to do no evil. Verse 23. And I besought the Lord at that time, saying, O Lord God, thou hast begun to shew thy servant thy what greatness and thy mighty hand. For what God is there in heaven or in earth that can do according to thy works and according to thy might? And the answer is, there is no other God. 25. I pray thee, let me go over and see the good land that is beyond Jordan, that goodly mountain in Lebanon. But the Lord was wroth with me for your sakes, and would not hear me. And the Lord said unto me, Let it suffice thee. Speak no more unto me of this matter. In other words, Moses, don't worry me no more about the other side of Jordan. I had just told you, you're not going. You are not going to change my mind. That's basically what he's saying. Verse 27. Get thee up into the top of Pisgah, and lift up thine eyes westward, and northward, and southward, and eastward, and behold it with thine eyes, for thou shalt not go over this Jordan. So, hey, I'll let you see it. I'll let you see the land. But the Lord, like, Moses, you is not going over the other side of that Jordan. 28. He says, but charge or command Joshua, and what? Encourage him, lift his spirits, and strengthen him, for he shall go over before this people. He shall cause them to inherit the land which thou shalt see. Because remember, I told you guys, Joshua is Moses' successor. And we know that Joshua, he's a type of Christ. Okay, verse 29. So we abode in the valley over against Beth Peor. And that is the end of that chapter, brothers and sisters. And we're going to continue reading into chapter 4. All right, so we're going to keep reading. If I seem a little shaky, that's just because I had just got out the gym. And so I'm still all pumped up, full of adrenaline. All right. But nevertheless, we're going to keep reading Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 1. Now, therefore, hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them, that ye may live, and go in and possess the land which the Lord God of your fathers giveth you. So that lets you know, brothers and sisters, that this living God, the God of Israel, this is not everybody's God. Because look at what Moses said, the Lord God of what? Your fathers. Why not everybody's fathers? Why just the God of your fathers? And we know who he's talking about. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's a lineage, brothers and sisters. That's a bloodline. So why do we keep trying to give our God away to everybody? No, the God belongs to us and to our fathers, that whole bloodline. This God is not everybody's God, brothers and sisters. We need to understand this. Verse 2. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you. Meaning you ain't going to do extra. Well, Lord, I just felt like doing this. We ain't going to do that. Neither shall you diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command. Because see, when you add or take away, that's how traditions start. And the Lord know that. And we know how the Lord felt about Israel's traditions. And we know what Jesus said. Why do you transgress the commandments of God to hold to your traditions? That's why the Lord say don't add or don't take away, because that is how traditions or doctrines form. Because you trying to do extra or you ain't trying to do too much. We got to stop doing that, brothers and sisters. Just do what the Lord tells you to do. So the middle, verse 2, that you may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. 3, your eyes have seen what the Lord did because of Baal Peor. For all the men that followed Baal Peor, remember all the women, they came to the men of Israel and they turned their hearts, and the men of Israel began serving them other gods. Not all of them, but a whole bunch of them did. And the Lord had them destroyed. But it's going to tell you, for all the men that followed Baal Peor, the Lord thy God have destroyed them from among you. Now, this is the issue that I have with Christianity. See, they don't never read stuff like this. The Lord thy God have what? Destroyed. All they talk about all day is how can't God do it? He'll just love you. He'll give you a hug. All of this stuff. But as I can recall, a certain apostle said, beware of the what? The goodness and what? The severity. That's the problem with the Christian church. They're always dealing in the Lord's goodness, but they don't want to talk about the severe side of God, the severity, what this God will do to you if you don't obey him. If you live in a wicked and foul life. See, they don't want to deal with that. And that's why you see among the Israelite community, that's why you see evil has increased. Because these Israelites go to these churches, especially these Sunday churches, and they're not told about the severity of the Lord. No, you cannot steal because God will break your fingers. And I mean that metaphorically, of course. God will break your darn fingers. You cannot lie because the Lord gonna come for you. If you do all that lying, the Lord is gonna come for you. You can't be extorting your brothers and sisters. You can't be breaking the Lord's Sabbath day. You can't be stuffing your stomach full of pork. Now, are these things going to save you? No, I don't care how much you do it. It ain't going to save you. But it's your duty as a servant, as a child of the Most High, to be separate and set apart. And see, these are the things that need to be taught in the Sunday church. In the Sabbath church, because some Sabbath teachers don't even teach the severity of God. They just got a doctrine going to get money. That's all they doing. But no, beware of the goodness and the severity of God, brothers and sisters, okay? But let's go ahead and get back into the lesson. So he said, in the matter of Baal Peor, the Lord had the men destroyed. Verse 4. But ye that did cleave unto the Lord your God are alive, every one of you this day. So all the men that say, hey, we ain't gonna do what our wicked brothers doing, You know, we gonna let them, sleep with them foreign women and serve their gods, but we gonna stay on this side. We gonna serve the Lord. We gonna continue to be obedient. And so guess what? The Lord kept them alive. He spared their life. And he said, every one of you are alive this day. 5, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Verse 6, keep therefore and what do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. You know why? Because this is what's going to separate you, brothers and sisters. Even now, is this going to save you? Keeping God's commandments, is that going to save you? Absolutely not. I don't care how much you keep it. However, it is your duty as a servant of God to keep God's commandments, to observe them, to live by them. You know why? Because it's a sign between you and the Most High that you're what? That you're set apart from your own brothers and sisters and from the world at large. You're set apart. Because guess what? The nations, they don't have these good laws and commandments that the Lord have given us. They got stuff like the Constitution. And in the Constitution, they got all these loopholes that the rich can get around. See, but the Lord's law is good, brothers and sisters. That's what I love about it. The Lord is fair, justice, equity. You can't beat that. And so the Lord said all of this stuff is going to be your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Do you not know the heathen? Some heathens took our book and applied just a few of our biblical principles. And do you not know they prospered? Just by taking a few biblical principles, they prospered. That's how potent the word of the Lord is, that if you live by this thing, you can be blessed. But see, our people, they don't want to live by this word. They want to do what they want to do. Yeah, I know the laws and the commandments. I know all of that stuff is good for me, but I can't lie to you, Brother Reggie Jr. I want to do what I want to do. I like eating ham. I like eating bacon. I like loving on the heathens and idolizing them. I love it. I can't give it up. I like what's going on out here in the world. I cannot give that up to serve the Most High. Well, hey, God gonna eventually put a rock upside your head. But in the meantime, have fun, okay? But it says, this is going to be your understanding in the sight of all the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. And I read that again. You know why? Because all the nations now are saying the exact opposite of that right there. These black people, they stupid. Man, they so raunchy. They so evil. See, that right there, they're thieves. They do this and they do that. That right there is an indication that the children of Israel are not being obedient to the Most High. Now, you may experience verse 6 in your own individual life, because I do experience verse 6 as an individual, but as a nation, we, and myself included, is not experiencing this. But on an individual level, I experience this. Okay. But for right now, in 2024, the nations are not saying this about us, brothers, because they are saying the exact opposite. And if you think I'm lying, all you got to do is turn on the news channel and they'll show you what they think about us. Verse 7. For what nation is there so great, who have God so nigh unto them? This is what the nations are going to say. What nation, singular, the 12 tribes of Israel, what nation is there so great, who have God so nigh unto them. Not just God, brothers and sisters, the living God. And that line right there, brothers and sisters, denotes that this living God is not everyone's God. Now, I know this Roman Christianity got a lot of y'all confused, but it's clear as day right here that this living God does not belong to everyone. Every nation has their own God. Do you understand me, Blackie? Every nation has their own God. God even commend the nations for not even changing their gods. But Israel, he bashed them for being flip-floppy. You got the real thing, a living God. You ain't dealing with no statue, no little knickknacks. You dealing with the living God, and you don't even want me. You want to serve the gods of the other nations. But meanwhile, the nations like, oh man, I mean, what nation is there so great that's have God so nigh to them? Even right now, while we're in a destroyed state, the rulers of this world, they're still astonished. Man, these black people, they don't know how blessed they are. Now we got them oppressed and down and effed up, but they don't know how lucky they are. That the God of this Bible, who they have no clue about, loves them to death and is going to come back and get them, and they're going to reign with him. The ruler of this world, they think about that, brothers and sisters. That's why they're so mad, because they know the truth about this. They know the truth, brothers and sisters. They spent millions of dollars, hired many Israelites to crack this thing for them. Tell me about this thing. Tell me about this God of Israel. And it left the rulers of this world astonished, brothers and sisters. And trust me, the rulers of this world, they know exactly who we are. And they know just how much this God loved them. They know. All right, but let's keep going, brothers and sisters. I don't want to get stuck right there. So he says, for what nation is there so great who have God so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? Verse 8. And what nation is there so great that have statutes and judgments so righteous as all what? This law, which I set before you this day. And see, what I love about the Lord's law is it don't change. It stays the same. But look at the heathen. They constantly adding more laws and more laws and more laws on top of this law to cover that law, and then even more laws. Whole bunch of statutes on top of it. And so we complaining about the Lord laws, but the heathen, what Israel say that we got over 613 laws? And we thinking that's a lot, but man, go look at them heathens laws. They have thousands upon thousands of laws and thousands upon thousands of statutes. Meanwhile, the Lord don't even require that much. And even with those quote unquote 613 laws, the Lord, he tells you pretty much straight up how to keep all 613. And that's to do what? Love your God and love your brothers and sisters. If you do that, you won't transgress God's law. Straight up. He gave you the formula. But with the heathen, they just keep piling up the laws. And you know why? Because in those laws, there are loopholes for the rich. And so these extra laws are created to oppress the poor, but to continue giving the rich loopholes. But that is a whole nother lesson, brothers and sisters. Let's keep going. Did I read all of verse 8? Well, we're going to read it again. And what nation is there so great that have statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself, and keep thy soul what? Diligently, meaning carefully. So he says, take heed to thyself. You need to, and when he say take heed to thyself, he means you need to examine yourself. You need to examine your behavior. You need to examine your thoughts. And keep thy what? Soul diligently, meaning you need to walk carefully before the Lord. You need to be cognizant of what he requires of you. So that way you make sure you're walking the right path in this life. Making sure basically that you are pleasing the Lord, that your ways are pleasing the Lord. Lest thou what? Forget the things which thine eyes have seen. Because we know that we have stuff going on in life, brothers and sisters. We get sick. We have children. Our children need, our children have needs that we have to attend to. If we have spouses, we got to give that time to our spouses. But we need to make sure that even though we have all of that going on, we got jobs we attend to. We need to make sure that we always examining ourselves and making sure that we don't forget to be obedient to the Lord, because you can get caught up if you ain't watching yourself. That's why the Lord wants you meditating on his word, so that way you don't never forget. Because this wicked mind that we have, brothers and sisters, it will take you down a rabbit hole if you ain't careful. Here we go. Let's see. He says, yep, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all what? The days of thy life, especially in this hour that we're living in, brothers and sisters. Babylon, okay, the fourth kingdom. They got all types of stuff you can be involved in. They got so many distractions out here. And I just watch Hebrews get took out left and right, because the call of Babylon is strong on these brothers. A lot of these brothers trying to get money. A lot of these brothers, they still trying to get some type of status out here in this fourth kingdom. And, it's taking them out because they're not meditating on God's word. They're not renewing their mind. So the call of Babylon is strong on them, and they end up falling away. Okay. But let's keep going. It says, but teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons. Verse 10. And more specifically, you want to teach your sons because your sons is the head. The sons grow up into men, and the men are the heads over the nations. They are the head over the households. They are the lifeblood of the very seed line of the children of Israel. Okay, verse 10. Especially the day that thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Horeb, when the Lord said unto me, gather me the people, and I will make them hear my words. And the Lord meant that literally, physically, so they can hear me physically, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children. 11. So what the Lord basically did that day on Mount Horeb, that was an intimidation tactic. Verse 11. And ye came near, and they did. Children of Israel came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. And the Lord spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the words, you heard the voice of the words. But saw, we need to repeat that, but saw no similitude. Ye only heard a voice. And see, that had to be said because Israel be quick to make an idol. And the Lord didn't want that. Verse 13. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 what? Commandments. And he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. So this covenant is what? The 10 commandments. 14. And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you what? Statutes and judgments, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go over to possess it. And statutes and judgments are basically a bunch of examples of how to keep the covenant. Okay, not quite literally meant to be taken literal, but they're basically examples. That's all I can really say. Verse 14, and the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that ye might learn to do them in the land whither ye go over to possess it. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that the Lord spake unto you. And again, that had to be repeated because the children of Israel would be quick to make an idol god, and it would piss the Lord off, and he would have to go upside their head, and he didn't want to have to do that. All right, but let's keep going. It say, you ain't see no similitude on the day that the Lord spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire. See, and let's see why he kept on repeating the fact that you didn't see no similitude. Verse 16, lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure. Because if they would have seen the Lord physically on the mount, they would have made a graven image of him, and they would have began worshiping that image. And the Lord said, what? You would have corrupted yourselves. So he says, and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars like the nations do, even all the host of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them, and what? Serve them. And that's what the nations do. They serve the creation rather than the creator. It says, which the Lord thy God have divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. Verse 20, but the Lord hath taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt. So let's take a little minute to understand how the Lord describes captivity. He describes captivity, slavery, as an iron furnace. And we know what happens in an iron furnace. That thing hot. It will burn you just being next to an iron furnace. Well, that's how he likens captivity and slavery, as an iron furnace. He says, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as ye are this day. In other words, the Lord, like, don't ever forget what I did for you in bringing you out of Egypt. I could have left you there, but I didn't. Verse 21, furthermore, the Lord was angry with me for your sakes, and swear that I should not go over Jordan, and that I should not go in unto that good land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. But I must die in this land. I must not go over Jordan, but ye shall go over and possess that good land. Take heed unto yourselves. So Moses keeps saying, hey, y'all need to make sure that you examining yourselves and examining your behavior, lest ye forget the covenant of the Lord your God, which he made with you, and make you a graven image or the likeness of anything which the Lord thy God hath forbidden thee. And I like how Moses said, take heed to yourself, because he know when Israel gets in the land, they're going to prosper. The Lord is going to give them everything, riches, all of the food and water they can handle. All of their enemies are going to be defeated. So Moses is basically like, hey, listen, when you are in the land and you prospering, do not forget God. That's basically what he's saying. Now, let's keep reading. It says, Take heed unto yourselves, lest you forget the covenant of the Lord your God, which he made with you, and make you a graven image or the likeness of anything, which the Lord thy God hath forbidden thee. And he keep on bringing that up because he know Israel has a weak mind, and he knows how prone they are to doing evil. 24 says, for the Lord thy God is a consuming fire, meaning he will destroy you, even a jealous God. 25 when thou beget children and children's children, and ye shall have remained long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves. So we see Moses can already see where it's going, because obviously the Lord showed them what was going to happen to them once they were in the land for a long time. He says, and shall corrupt yourselves and make a graven image or the likeness of anything, and shall do evil in the sight of the Lord thy God to provoke him to anger. Okay, so by doing this evil with these graven images, these idol gods, you're going to give rise to God's anger. 26 I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day. See, Moses, I'm witnessing to you this day, because Moses is a watchman. He has to warn Israel. That's his job. He says, hey, I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that ye shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto ye go over Jordan to possess it. Ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. So Moses already knows the children of Israel. He like, listen, I know y'all Hebrews. Y'all not going to last long on the land. The Lord going to destroy y'all, and he going to scatter you to the four winds. 27. Because you remember what Aaron said. He said, Moses, you know this people. Their heart is set on mischief. They are set on doing evil. They are addicted to doing the wrong thing. All you got to do is look on YouTube. All you got to do is look on World Star Hip Hop, the Shade Room, and you can see the behavior of these Israelites and tell me whether or not Aaron was lying. Aaron was not lying at all. He was 100% correct. This people's heart is set on doing mischief, always looking to get into some type of evil. Verse 27. And the Lord shall what? After he destroy your behind on that land by bringing foreign nations in to siege you and beat your tail. He says what? 27. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. 28. And it say whether the Lord shall lead you, because the Lord knew what he was doing when he was scattering. I want this group of Israelites to go over here. I want this group to go over here. I ain't going to put them there. I'm going to put them right here. And I'm going to put them. It say lead you. Meaning the Lord knew exactly where he was taking these Israelites. 28. He says, and there in these nations ye shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see nor hear nor eat nor smell. And let me tell you, Israel is also worshiping living and breathing gods today in this captivity. They are worshiping the fourth beast. And yeah, you could say the fourth beast is a system and all that crap. You could say all that mess all you want. Every beast had a nationality. And we know, brothers and sisters, who this fourth beast is and who our people worship. We know who it is, brothers and sisters. But we're going to keep reading. Verse 29. But if from thence, from there, meaning in captivity, and all of these nations you scattered in, thou shalt seek the Lord thy God, thou shalt what? Find him. But if you seek the Lord your God, if thou seek him with all thy heart, and with all thy soul. Okay. So when you're seeking something, you're searching. And it's not just a search, it's a deep search. And not only are you going to be searching, but you're not going to be wise in your own eyes, brothers and sisters. You're going to let go any type of pride. And that's the problem I have with the conscious community and the Pan-Africanist community, is they're very, very, very prideful, and they're very wise in their own eyes. They know that the God of Israel, because a lot of them know who the God of Israel is. They know that he's the answer, but they refuse to submit to him. So that lets you know that they have not sought him with all their heart and with all their soul, because they're still holding on to their knowledge of what they think should be done in the way that it's hard for me to explain. But if you dealt with the conscious community, you know how they think, brothers and sisters, and they need to humble themselves if they want to get out of this captivity. We'll just leave it at that. 30. When thou art in tribulation, meaning when thou art in anguish, when you are suffering, when you are getting your behind beat, when you are in trouble. That's what tribulation means, trouble. And all these things are come upon thee, even in the latter days, if thou turn to the Lord thy God, and shall be obedient unto his voice, not unto the voice of this fourth beast, which are these heathen. No, you're going to be obedient to the voice of the Lord. For the Lord thy God is a merciful God. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee. So if you're not being obedient, you ain't searching for God, that means he's destroying you. But if you be obedient and you search for the Lord and you turn with all your heart, soul, and mind, it says he won't forsake you, neither destroy you, nor forget the covenant of your fathers, which he sware unto them. 32, for ask now of the days that are past, which were before thee, since the day that God created man upon the earth, and ask from the other side of heaven unto the other, whether there have been any such thing as this great thing is, or have been heard like it. Did ever people hear the voice of God speaking out of the midst of fire, as thou hast heard? And what? And lived. No other nation on this earth, brothers and sisters, on this giant landmass, can say that as a nation, not just 2 or 3 people, no, but as a nation, have heard the voice of God. Literally, I mean literally, heard the voice of God and live. No one can claim that but the 12 tribes of Israel. 34. Or have God essayed to go and take him a nation from the midst of another nation, by temptations, by signs, and by wonders, and by war, and by a mighty hand, and by a stretched out arm? So we see that them plagues that not Israel, but them plagues that the Lord was dropping on them Egyptians, it say right here that was war. The Lord was waging war on the Egyptians. That's what we're seeing here in the fourth kingdom. All of these disasters, these earthquakes, these wars, these pestilences, the Lord turning the heathens' guns against each other. The Lord is waging war on our enemies, brothers and sisters, and it's all going to lead to us getting out of captivity and taking over this earth. That's what it's going to lead to. But God said, have you ever seen that? And by a mighty hand, and by a stretched out arm, and by great terrors. according to all that the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes. We never see the Lord do this for any other nation. Just for this nation, the children of Israel, the so-called Negro, the black man, the black woman. The Lord has only did this for our nation, brothers and sisters. No, he has not done this for any other nation. No nation can claim this history but the Negro. And it says, 35, unto thee it was shewed, unto the Israelites it was shewed, that thou mightest know that the Lord, he is God. There is none else beside him. Because you know why? The children of Israel, when they were in Egypt, they didn't lift a finger to deliver themselves. It was all the Most High. Because where was the children of Israel's king? Where was their military? Where were their wise men? Their counselors. Where were all of these men? Bishops, deacons, priests. Where were all of these men? There wasn't none, brothers and sisters. Israel was on the bottom, getting oppressed, getting their wig split. And the Lord showed the might of his power. I can deliver these people. And if he did it once before, brothers and sisters, he can do it again. We are back in the same state that we were in Egypt. So just like you see the black man and the black woman today around the world, how they're oppressed, on the bottom, no power, no government, no kings, no nothing, just open season for the nations. That's the exact same state we was in Egypt. That's why we're going to have another Exodus, but this Exodus is going to be grander. It's going to be so big and so great, brothers and sisters, that the nations will no longer talk about that first Exodus. That's going to be a light thing. That's going to be a light thing in history. But this second Exodus, oh man, the Lord going to show out, brothers and sisters. And the Lord told us Israelites, he said, it ain't going to be like your fathers. He said, when I get y'all out, I'm going to reward y'all double. I'm going to give y'all a double blessing above your fathers for all the pain and suffering y'all had to endure for all of these centuries. And I wait for that day, brothers and sisters. Verse 36 says, out of heaven he made thee to hear his voice, that he might instruct thee. And upon earth he shewed thee his great fire, and thou heardest his words out of the midst of the fire. And because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them. So he loved the way Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he loved the way they walked. He loved the faith that they had in him. That was the number one thing that made the Lord love them more than anything you can imagine. It was that faith. And if you call yourself a child of Abraham, a child of Isaac, a child of Jacob, then you should be a child of faith, brothers and sisters. Not carnal, a child of faith. That's what you should be. So it says, therefore he chose their seed after them and brought thee out in his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt. 38, to drive out nations from before thee, greater and mightier than thou art. Remember, I was telling y'all earlier about the Canaanites and, them Ammonites and stuff. Remember how I told you Israel couldn't whoop them? It's telling you right here, to drive out nations before thee, greater and mightier than thou art. Brothers and sisters, you are going to have enemies just on the individual level that are stronger than you. They have more authority than you. They could do some serious damage to you in your lifestyle. And so guess what? It's going to have to be the Lord that's going to have to drive your enemies out for them, brothers and sisters, because you don't have the power. Okay, but let's keep reading. To bring thee in, to give thee their land for an inheritance, as it is this day. And it's funny because them Canaanites, all they were what was a placeholder for the children of Israel. And when the Lord got ready, he booted them out and gave the children of Israel the land, just as he had purpose. Well, it's no different in your individual life. Your enemies, they withhold stuff from you, and they just try to keep you from a lot of stuff. But see, what's going to end up happening? See, all they're doing is just holding your blessing. That's how I see all of my enemies that rise up against me. All you're doing is holding my blessing for me, because I know from you is going to come a blessing. So when God topple you and trample you, I know I'm going to get my blessing. So I smile when my enemies rise up against me, because I know the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. And yeah, that can be literal, but that's more so of an analogy, brothers and sisters. That's the way I take it. Verse 39. Know therefore this day, and consider it in thy heart, in thy mind, that the Lord, he is God in heaven above, and upon the earth beneath. There is none else. In other words, he's the living God. 40. Thou shalt keep therefore his statutes, his commandments, which I command thee this day, that it may go well with thee. That way you may have good fortune, that way you may be blessed, and with thy children after thee, that thou mayest prolong or extend thy days upon the earth, which the Lord thy God giveth thee what? Forever. And we're out the land right now, brothers and sisters, but this land that the Lord gave us, brothers and sisters, it's forever. Yeah, we on punishment right now, but the land that the Lord gave us, the land of the Canaanites, that's ours forever, and can't nobody take it from us. 41. Then Moses severed 3 cities on this side Jordan toward the sunrise, that the slayer might flee thither, which shall kill his neighbor unawares, meaning unknowingly, and hated him not in times past. In other words, it was just an accident. And that fleeing unto one of these cities he might live, namely Bezer in the wilderness, in the plain country of the Reubenites, and Ramoth in Gilead of the Gadites, in Golan in Bashan of the Manassites. And this is the law which Moses set before the children of Israel. These are the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which Moses spake unto the children of Israel after they came forth out of Egypt, on this side of Jordan, in the valley over against Beth Peor, in the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon, whom Moses and the children of Israel smote, after they were come forth out of Egypt, and they possessed his land, in the land of Og, king of Bashan, 2 kings of the Amorites, which were on this side Jordan towards the sunrise, from Aroer, which is by the bank of the river Arnon, even unto Mount Sion, which is Hermon, and all the plain on this side Jordan eastward, even unto the sea of the plain, under the springs of Pisgah. And guys, we're going to go ahead and end it right there. I hope you guys got some understanding, and I will see you in the next lesson. Shalom.